Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And boy, are we about to create the adventure of a lifetime, because we've got a great guest for you today. And by the way, have you ever had the opportunity to have somebody come up to you and say, you know, I'm looking for a great hairstylist, or I'm looking for a great mechanic. Do you know anybody? And then to have somebody say, hey, I know a guy. Well, you know what? I know a guy, and his name is Anthony Markey. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, close. Yeah, Markey. Just yep.
Perfect. And he has a podcast, and he does. We're in a race to see how many we can do, and he's got over 100 episodes on his podcast. It's about. Well, I'm going to ask him what his podcast is about, but I know a guy is a great title for a podcast, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a happy accident. Kind of just worked out that way.
And there are no happy accidents. You planned it, you made it happen, and so there we are. But tell us a little bit about the podcast, and then I'll tell you how you can reach him if you want to be a guest on his show, which you're going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah. So yeah, it was it's new. It's something that really has taken over what I'm doing. And it's the thing I'm loving most. It was just a way for me to make introductions at first, because I spent a lot of time networking. You know, I've been self-employed for 7 years. I meet a lot of interesting people all the time, and I want to add value to everybody that I meet. It's the Zig Ziglar, help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. Karma, the golden rule, the reap what you sow, the go-giver, whatever words you want to put to it. Just wanted to steer my ship headlong into that thing that we keep defining. So was meeting a lot of awesome people, just didn't have a really good value add for them. So I decided I'd start making these meetings all about them, recording it and sharing it. So it's turned into what it is now. It was intended to just be a good way of making introductions. So if I interviewed you and you said, I help people with X, Y, Z, down the road, I bumped into somebody that goes, I could use help in this area, or I partner well with people in this area, I could say, have you met Kevin? And just send them the episode, and one of two things would happen. They'd go, no, you know, he's not what I'm looking for. In which case, great. I saved you time. I didn't make an introduction that wasn't going anywhere. Or two, and way more likely after they get to know you a little bit, is, hey, he's awesome. Can you introduce me? And they go into that first meeting knowing who you are, what you do, what you love about what you do, and what they want to talk about. So gets rid of a lot of that first meeting anxiety where, like, I don't know who this person is. I got introduced. I might as well meet him. And that's how it started. It was intended to just be that. And it's quickly become more than I thought it would, quicker than I thought it would, where I'm meeting somebody new, and it's a daily newsletter and podcast at this point. So just making introductions, meeting awesome people, and growing a network.
And that's what you call passion, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe that we all have passion about what it is that we'd like to do. And if it's not podcasting, it's not for everybody. I got to tell you, there's a lot of work involved. But if you're interested, if you do whatever it is that you want to do, be an artist, be a musician, you got to apply yourself, and you got to decide that this is what you want to do. And then you go after it with gusto. And I would say that you are doing that, young man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. To be fair, I thought I was lazy, right? Before doing this, the stuff I was doing, it was like pulling teeth. It's like, okay, I got to do X, Y, Z. And then I end up coming up with excuses and end up getting nothing accomplished that day. And I was just like, well, I'm lazy. That's just who I am. And then I started doing this, and it is way more work than any of that ever was. And I don't have a problem doing it. So it's not that I was lazy. I just hated what I was doing, turns out. So,
and sometimes it takes you to find your passion, to realize that what you were doing wasn't so great and you didn't really like it all that much.
Yeah, there's definitely truth there. Basically just trimming away all the stuff that I didn't like from what I was doing, and what was left was this. And it's finding your purpose, right? You know, you have what you do, and when you get rid of all the stuff that you do that's just not for you, what's left is purpose and passion, and dive into that.
Well, you know, you're a younger guy, and I'm glad you found your purpose younger than, let's see, I was 42 and was a district sales manager and all that kind of stuff. And before I realized and said to myself, why am I here? What am I here to do? This ain't it. Whatever I'm doing now isn't what generates my soul and turns my crank, if you will, for lack of a better term. And so it was so I was a little bit older, and then I found this, and I truly love doing radio and doing all of this stuff, and but sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you fail, and sometimes you don't do as well at it as you'd like to, but you keep at it. What is it about what you're doing that you have decided that you're going to keep at it? And I'm willing to bet, since you've got over 100 episodes out, you've got 60 in, as they say, in the can, ready to drop, that there is something about it that has just turned you on. What is it? Is it helping people? Is it feeling good about yourself? What is it that's gets you going?
Yeah, I think it's yes. The answer is yes to all that. Because if this is something that I can do every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to be happy doing it. Because all I'm doing is I'm meeting interesting people, talking about them, getting to know them, making friends, making introductions, finding those connections that people spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to figure out. And if I'm just able to say, talk to Kevin, right? That's huge. That's impactful. People remember that. And if the worst thing that comes from all of this is that I helped a lot of people, well, that's not so bad, right? I've been able to learn a skill quickly because, like you said, if you're afraid of failure, I fail a little bit every day, right? I'm not gonna grow otherwise. It's like when you go to the gym, you got to work out. It's gonna have some pain. You're gonna learn. You're gonna get better. You're gonna get stronger. You're gonna get faster. That's with everything in life, and I've realized that with this is as I grow, I'm like, okay, I have been doing X, Y, Z in the dumbest way possible. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm gonna augment it. I'm gonna fix it, and I'm gonna grow from that. And that's been what's happening over the last 6 months is a lot of growth, a lot of learning. And like I said, if the only thing that comes from this is I learn a skill and help a lot of people along the way, then it's still worth it.
Anthony, I got to ask you, did you have people in your life that when you said, I'm going to start a podcast, and they said, oh, Anthony, you need to go get do your gig and make your money. And a podcast it's hard to make a living doing that. It's hard to make any money doing that. And did you have anybody like that in your life?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that. The benefit that I've had is, I've been self-employed for 7 years, so I've tried a bunch of things. Like I've done a little bit of everything through that, and I didn't run into too much of it because people are, they're giving up on that. That I'm unemployable at this point, right? I can't go work for somebody else. Can't do it. But yeah, I've had a lot of that where it's like, well, the average podcast only lasts for 4 episodes, or only a small percentage ever reach X, Y. Cool, great, doesn't matter. I'm learning it. It's a lot of fun. I'm making connections. I'm growing a network. I'm helping people, and I've not done anything that's had that much, I guess, confirmation on what I'm doing to me to be dissuaded by anybody at this point.
And I think you're entering into the marketplace at a perfect time. And the reason that I say that is I found out yesterday that another platform called Blog Post or something like that just went out of business. And the reason that this is happening is that everybody says initially, I can do a podcast. I'm going to make $1 million. Joe Rogan is going to be my idol, and I'm going to make $100 million like he did. And then they get into it, and then they finding good guests are hard, and then editing the thing, and then finding a theme and getting the music and doing all the things that you do when we put this together. And the average podcast lasts less than 20 episodes. They call it podcast fade. And I firmly believe that what's going to happen is those who have legs, those who have passion for what you're doing, for what we're doing, you are going to be successful, because as time goes, there's going to be fewer and fewer, because a lot of the people that are doing it are saying, man, this is hard. And I don't like doing it that much. I got to go make a living, so maybe I won't do this anymore. Do you think that that's true?
Absolutely. I think that's everything. It doesn't matter what it is. You have certain people, they start a business, and the average business is what lasts a year. A certain percentage only lasts a year, a certain percentage only lasts 3, a certain percentage only lasts 5, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's kind of the same with, like I said, everything else. So with podcasting, it seems like there's such a low barrier to entry because anybody with a phone and an internet connection can do the basics. I can film myself talking to people, share it. But like you said, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work. You're finding guests, if you're a guest show, or you're trying to find topics, or you're trying to find out how to grow, or you're trying to find all the stuff. There's so much to it that you don't know, and you don't know until you don't know. So being able to go in it knowing that, okay, it's never going to be perfect. I'm always going to have to shift. I'm always going to have to pivot and be willing to do so and not be so rigid in what you need it to be. That's not most people, right? There has to be that level of passion. I always say to people, just in general, entrepreneurship, if I ask you, what do you love about what you do? And your answer is, I don't know, it pays the bills. You should go get a job, right? I don't know why you would do entrepreneurship to yourself if there wasn't a purpose, if it wasn't your purpose, or it wasn't a passion there, because it is a lot of work, and it's definitely easier to go get paid days off somewhere else than to put yourself through something that's a lot of work. But it's definitely rewarding for the people, the cream rising to the top, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm very much like you. I had a boss tell me one time, you're not a very good employee. Um, and I said, well, I'm sorry about that, but I got my own way of doing stuff, and so he said, well, you can go do that somewhere else, and so that was the end of that. But it's vital that you find your passion, and that you live your passion to the best of you, and even if that means that you need to have a job to supplement your living style, then do that, but then do you whatever your passion is. If you love to paint, if you are a musician, if you're a writer, if you if you want to be an author or whatever, it's important. And isn't that what life is all about?
Yeah, I think it was Micro, with Dirty Jobs Micro. I think I remember him saying one time, he's like, yeah, follow your opportunities, but bring your passion with you. And I think that's super important because a lot of people, they can't just jump into something and do only this thing forever, right? It takes time. It's going to take time to build. You're not going to be overnight success. The overnight successes aren't even overnight successes. They're 5-year successes that you just saw bloom all at once, right? Because a lot of the stuff is slow growth than hockey stick. And all you see is the hockey stick. And you're like, oh, I didn't accomplish my goals in the first month. It takes time. You're going to have to do stuff. You're going to have to eat that toad, whatever it is, you're going to have to deal with it. But if it's your passion, then bring it with you. Don't let it stop you. You might, like I said, you might need to pivot. I started this thinking I'm going to do this semi-frequently. And then all of a sudden it's a daily thing. It's like, okay, great. I'm going to pivot to it because I enjoy it.
And it's a 7-day-a-week thing for you now.
Yep, every day. Well, to be fair, a lot of it's pre-recorded, so it's mostly work week, but it's out every day.
Well, and you are helping people find other people to find their passion. So you really are connecting people together, aren't you?
Absolutely, that's the whole goal. Is people out there need to meet other people in business, right? That you're growing that circle of people that are going to advocate for you and what you're doing when you're not around. But the key is finding the ones that are going to match your values, that you're going to want to refer back and forth with, that you're going to want to grow around. And you can't really do that unless you've talked to a bunch of people. And like I said, you can spend a lot of time trying to find those. I'm just trying to make it as simple and efficient as possible. Every day, you're going to meet somebody new. Is this person going to help you out? If the answer is no, great, check back tomorrow. If they're interesting, watch the whole episode, find out who they are from their own mouth, reach out to them, and then grow that circle. You're going into it knowing what you want to talk about. It's not just a shot in the dark.
See, and you're doing something that they told me that I needed to do, but I haven't been able to figure out how to do it, and now I won't do it. And that is, you need to niche down. You need to have a specific niche that you can you've done that. Then that's what I know a guy is really all about, is connecting people and entrepreneurs and people and helping business people figure out how they should do stuff. I can't do that. I just can't niche down like that. I like to talk to too many people.
Yeah, no, you're right. They do say to niche down. It does help, just because Kevin can do it doesn't mean everybody can. So absolutely. But no, what you're doing, talking to people, that's still a niche. You're interviewing interesting people doing interesting things. Yeah, I may be, focused in this one area, but there's so many things that I don't know. I'm never going to have enough conversations in my lifetime to scratch that itch. So no matter how big or how small your niche is, you're not going to fill it. So
Isn't it cool? Well, I need to take a break, and when we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you how cool it is to be sitting where we're sitting and talking to so many people and connecting to so many people. And and the thing is, Anthony, there are people who are connected to you that you will never meet, yet you are impacting them greatly. We'll be right back. At 67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle, to date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. Let's do it now, and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Anthony Markey is with us today. He's a podcaster of note. Have you gotten used to the title of being a podcaster of note?
No, not yet. Maybe one day when we hit 200.
Oh, stop. You've already got 160 in the can, ready to go. You're very close to having 200. Wait till you get to have 500 or 1,000. It is amazing the number. I have to laugh because there are people in my world that, do you remember when you interviewed? No, I have no earthly idea. I can't remember half the people that I've interviewed until I see their face, or because there have been so many. But it's vital that you're doing what you're doing, because you're impacting, like I said, you're impacting people that you'll never meet. Have you had anybody reach out to you and say, Anthony, you saved my bacon?
I don't know about saving bacon. I've had people reach out to me that had seen an interview or seen something or heard something that somebody said that I had on, that they were like, yeah, I really appreciate that you interviewed so and so. I met with them after that, and it really changed the direction of my business, or it really got me thinking, or I really kind of took XYZ stuff, whatever it is. So I've had people that were impacted that I had not met yet. I'm sure there's more out there. You can only talk to so many people that talk to other people. I think the word, I met a gentleman, interviewed him. The word he used, oh man, I'm going to blank on it, was sonder. And I think that's the perfect word for that. Where, I think it's like you look out the window at night and you see cars driving by, and you see 1,000 cars, and you realize that every single one of those lights are another person that's lived an entire other life completely separate from you, that may never, directly cross your path. And like you said, where we're sitting here, we're crossing a lot of paths with people we're never going to talk to, right? We're going to impact them, and we'll never know how or why, but there's something to be said that we did it anyway. So like you said, it's kind of amazing when you really sit down and think about it.
Well, and I'm going to tell people in the audience right now that I Know a Guy is a podcast. And if you need to know a guy, and go to his website and his podcast, because he can hook you up and with many of the episodes that he's got. So by extension, it can end up being, I heard you on Positive Talk, and so I went to I Know a Guy, and I listened to that show, and now I met him, and now we're in business together, and we're making multi-million dollars. That can happen.
Absolutely. It only takes one connection. You just don't know who you need to know. You don't know what you know. So why shouldn't you be trying to have a conversation with somebody every single day?
And if you don't have, now I'm a little older, so I stay in my house a good deal of the time, but because I'm doing this all the time. But if I was interested in, you need to meet people. You need to get out in the community and to see people. That is on my to-do list for 25.
Yeah, you should. I was the exact same. I've been self-employed long enough that not having coworkers, it starts to, okay, who am I going to talk to? I have my friends. I see them semi frequently. So you kind of got to get out there, join your local chamber, find networking events, just find people to kind of talk to, volunteer at places, get out, meet people that are, interesting. And even if they're never somebody that's going to help you on your business side, you still need that. We're people, we're social creatures. It can't all be virtual.
Unless you're in my house, then it can all be virtual. You see, but no, it is really important, and I would suspect that you get out and you do a lot in your 7 years of entrepreneurism. What is it that you have done before you started doing the podcast?
Yeah, so I've done a lot. I've mostly been in the insurance industry. I spent a lot of that 7 years in the B2C space, helping individuals with life insurance, health insurance, things like that. A couple years ago, transitioned into the B2B space, so helping businesses find major medical insurances, finding health supplement programs that lead to payroll savings. So starting to work with groups. And then, like I said, I was meeting a lot of people that weren't going to be clients because I was mostly focused on groups. So they kind of all tied together in this. I don't believe in serendipity, but in a serendipitous way that it's like, okay, this all kind of pieces together. And I still need to get out and do a little bit of that, like we were saying a minute ago. So it keeps me grounded to not just be here 24/7.
Well, my memory bank just remembered something, but the first job I ever had, and I want to see if this rings true for you in the insurance business. Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm calling on behalf of Don Kramer, the farmer's insurance agent in your area. And I'm curious to know when your car insurance is going to expire next time so that we can give you a competitive quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it ring a bell?
Yeah, a lot of cold calling, cold door knocking. That was always fun. Hey, knock, knock, knock. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about your insurance needs.
Boom.
You're gonna get out of here, right? So, depending on where you are in the country, you might be chased.
With a shotgun in some cases.
Certain rural parts, yeah, absolutely. And I'm in Iowa, so you know how that goes. No, absolutely. Definitely way better to have a conversation with people that want to have a conversation with you like this.
Well, and because you're not, it's like I was in the restaurant business for a long time. And what I liked about the restaurant business is you weren't forcing anybody to show up. They came because they liked the food, they liked the atmosphere, they liked the service and stuff. So you didn't have to really go out of your way to impress somebody. But going on a cold call door to door, I can't think of anything that I would rather to do less than that.
There's a lot of things I'd rather do less. It can still be fun. You're still meeting people and people are interesting. So there are all kinds of stories there, but we'll save it for now.
Yes, indeed. Well, I drove a bus for 12 years and I got stories, man. I got stories upon stories that I can tell you, but we'll save that for another time. By the way, we're talking with Anthony Markey. He's the host of I Know a Guy. Now, do you do this with a co-host? Do you do it sometimes co-host, or how do you put it together?
No, at the moment it's just me. I mean, there's chance in the future that I'll like I said, pivot into something where there might be a co-host or there might be a spinoff where there's a little differences, just like location based. But no, at the moment it's me, myself, and I.
And for those of you that are taking notes, for us podcasters out there, how do you secure guests? Do you reach out to people? Do you is it via Facebook or where is it?
Yeah, it started with me reaching out to people, different places. But at the moment, once you start kind of having guests come in, you start getting introduced. You know who'd be a great guest for your show? Let me introduce you to it. And then it's spider webs, and you end up places you would have never otherwise been. Right? You're like, I don't know how I'm talking to you, but you're very impressive. Gentleman, he won the White House Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm like, I sold insurance for a while. What do we have in common? So you get those introductions and you start meeting more and more people, and it's spider webs, and it takes on a life of its own. And a lot of times is you kind of got to pump the brakes a little bit and go, I'm not really looking for any more people in that industry right now. We'll put you on the calendar or something. And it just grows.
It's amazing. I just finished an interview with a gentleman who opened. Now, you're a little younger, but you'll still remember him. He opened for Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And just meeting people who have met other people is exciting. For me, is exciting in its own right. Because we can create a great show together. And I interviewed an 80-year-old tap dancer. He's still tap dancing. And he remembers Bing Crosby and Gene Kelly. And do you know who Gene Kelly was? You're a younger guy.
Okay, so no, but it sounds familiar.
Singing in the Rain was one of his, yeah, and stuff. So and over time, what I love about what we do is over time you become really well-rounded in all the information that people are giving to you. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. It really is amazing.
Yeah, it is. You're going to learn stuff you wouldn't otherwise have learned. You're going to meet people with stories that are going to blow your hair back. And like you said, meeting somebody that opened for Robin Williams, you probably heard stories about Robin Williams that you'll never find in any documentary or anything like that, where
yep,
before the show, he always, he threw his shoe at a clown. I don't know, something random that you're like, well, why don't more people know this? So you get exposed and you learn stuff, and it's crazy. And like I said, I've only been doing this for 6 months, and I already have stories like that. I can only imagine, doing it for years and years and years, and over 1,000 episodes. There's got to be just piles of them.
Oh, it's from I consider myself the luckiest guy alive, and one of the reasons is I get to talk to Anthony, because you are you're on the other side of springtime, my friend. I'm a little bit more fall, and you're a little bit more springtime. It's kind of like Donnie and Marie when they would sing, "I'm a little bit country and you're a little bit rock and roll." It's like the same thing. I'm in the fall and you're in the spring, so you're going to carry on with the tradition. Have you thought about what else you would like to do in the podcasting realm or in the radio realm or whatever, wherever it goes?
So, I mean, yes and no. I have goals on where I'd like this to eventually go, but there's just so much to it. When somebody says, "Oh, I podcast," it's now such a big area. Okay, are you gonna guest? Are you gonna be an expert in one field? Are you gonna do it in person? Are you gonna do it virtual? There's so many different areas. I don't even know where to begin looking. I'm kind of just letting it happen, and whatever hits me in the face, I'm like, okay, well, that sounds cool. I'll pick up. But any direction there, I'm always open to what looks cool and shiny.
Well, everything is cool and shiny until it's not, as you know. And but no, just keep doing what you're doing, and the only thing that you cannot do is you cannot quit, and you can't get frustrated with the growth, because you're right. It is HE double hockey sticks, because the hockey sticks, you could be good in nowhere and nowhere and nowhere, and then suddenly you'll have a spurt of growth and you have no idea where it came from. That's the exciting part.
Yeah, no, I've even seen like not echoes because it hasn't happened yet, but hints of that, where it's like, you'll get like normal, and then it's go whoop, how do I do that again? And then you try and figure it out, and you can't. And you're like, okay, well, let's just hope it just happens again. I'm gonna keep doing stuff, and we'll see. So yeah, no, definitely. And I've been doing entrepreneurship for long enough that I know, okay, success is kind of a you thing. So what's successful for you? For me, it's if I can just make enough and do enough to do this every day and not have to worry about anything else. Perfect. I never have to be the $100 million Joe Rogan. I'm happy with being I met somebody cool today, and I got to talk to them, and I got to share it with other people.
However, if Joe Rogan retires and they offer you his gig, you're not going to turn it down now, are you?
Do I have to do all the DMT? Because just saying, I don't know if I could stomach it.
Yeah, I tell you, and he does 3 hours a day?
No, he does 3 hours a day. Sometimes they're longer, right? He has some episodes that'll go into like the 6 hour range.
I don't have any idea. Quite frankly, I don't listen to him. But that's because I'm busy doing my own thing and stuff. So, by the way, we're talking again with what the hell's your Anthony Markey. And if you go to your website now, what is your website?
Yeah, it's just the acronym for I know a guy. So ikag.me. So .me, ikag.me.
And he's got episodes there, and he's met some very interesting people, and is going to be continuing on and on and on into, and definitely for as long as you care to. And I hope it's a long time. I hope it's a long time. We need to take our station break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more about the art of podcasting and what he's learned in these 6 months. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome everybody to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Anthony Markey is here, and I know a guy, and his name is Anthony, and he's right there, and he's a great guy. He's a great podcaster, and he's got a podcast called I Know a Guy. Isn't that convenient? And I wanted to ask you, because there are people that are budding, trying to figure it out type of podcast kids that are out there. What is the most impactful thing you've learned in the first 6 months of doing this?
Be willing to pivot and adapt, because whatever you're doing, there's better ways of doing it, and you just got to figure out what those are and then implement them. It's as simple as that. You're not perfect from where you're starting. You're never going to be perfect. So being willing to, like I said, kind of just put your ego aside and saying, okay, tell me what I'm doing wrong and I'm going to fix it.
Well, and the thing is that the algorithms, and by the way, what algorithms are, is how all of these sites pick and choose, because they can kind of pick and choose who's going to be successful more so than not, like YouTube and some of those. And I have not, for the life of me, figured out how to work the algorithms. Have you?
Nope, not even a little bit. I have tools that tell me they know what they're doing. Like not people, but tools. But they're showing me, hey, you use this SEO, you do X, Y, Z, and I'm trying a bunch of it. So we'll see what it ends up working, and then I'll test it, try it again. If it works, great. Then I'll come back with an answer for you. But at the moment, not even a little bit.
I don't know about you, but I get people all the time saying, your SEOs suck, and I need to, I can make it so much better and to give you so many more plays and subscribers and stuff. Just pay me X. Do you get those?
All the time. My favorite ones are the ones that like they'll get like a screenshot and it'll have arrows pointing at stuff and saying, oh, you have great content, but you need to fix some stuff, and I can do it. It's going to cost you, but I can do it. And then my favorite ones are the ones that reach out to you, and then it's like, hello, and it puts bracket, prospect's name bracket. It's like, you could have at least put in, I know a guy or Anthony or something, but good shot.
Yeah, I occasionally will get a phone call and it'll say, my name is Bob. And it's like, no, your name isn't Bob. Tell me what your real name is. No, my name is Bob. Yeah. And they want to sell me something, and it's like, no, and not until you tell me what your real name is. Click. And so, so that happens all the time, because for every creative, which is what you are, and I like to think that's what I am, there are 10 people who want to feed off of the hard work that you're putting into it.
Yeah. No, once you start getting, well, you don't even have to have traction. Once you put anything out there, you're in their world, and they have their algorithms, finding you, and then they're like, okay, well, I can help you, and all you're doing wrong is this one thing, but I can only tell you if you pay me. It's
Exactly.
it's it.
Well, and the other thing is that we found, and when I started this, I was thinking, I got to go to all the sites. I got to go to Apple, and I got to go to Pandora, and I got to go to a Sketcher, and all these. They find you because everybody's looking for content that's current and continuing, and a lot of the content that they get is older, and they don't have very many shows and stuff. So we're on like 200 platforms, and it's like we didn't go anywhere. They just said we're gonna there's another one, we can grab that one and stuff. It's because content is king. If you've got good content, you can do anything. But like I like to say, Anthony, podcasts are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Some are good, some are not so good. I was talking with a lady the other day that said I was on a podcast and he was on his unmade bed eating a bowl of cereal during the podcast. I was like, so did you stay the whole time? She said, I was fascinated. It was, so anyway, but it needs to be done professionally, and it can be done right. But so what are some of the other things that you've learned that surprised you, that you learned in the time from the time you decided to start this and through now?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest surprise was how hungry people are for it. Like, I thought podcasting, you always hear it's oversaturated. There's already so many out there. Who are you comparing to whatever it is? And then, I put it out there. And like I said, I thought it was going to be semi-frequent. I'll do this a couple times a month. Here we are. And it's a daily thing. I always like to make the joke. It's like, okay, today was episode 143 that went out. I have about 60 in the can ready to go, about another 30 in booking. So who knew that entrepreneurs wanted to talk about themselves, right? So it's turned out that there's people that want to get out there and get known. And if you can provide them that platform, they're going to, you quoted, a movie. So I'll do the same. I'm here in Iowa. If you build it, they'll come. Right.
Yep.
And that's been the thing. It's not really hard in that way. It has plenty of hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. But if you're doing quality and you're not just eating, Rice Krispies on your bed, you'll probably be able to, have some level of success with it.
Well, and the interesting thing is everybody wants their 15 minutes. And a lot of authors and a lot of people need to, and that's a thing nowadays, is that PR companies, those are public relations companies, by the way, for those that are keeping score. And what they do is they'll tell their person that books them, they'll go to the PR person and they'll pay them money. And then they'll say, well, we're going to book you on a bunch of podcasts. And then they go to the podcasts who don't charge any money. Like I don't charge any money. But they'll charge the client to book them on my podcast. And then when I go back to them and say, will you pay me a portion of what they paid you to be on my podcast, which I'm doing and you're not? And they say, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not in the budget. I can't afford that. Had you ever get that?
So I've never tried that. I've had people reach out to me. And my favorite's when they start telling you what you should be doing because this is what others have done. Because I've had that where I book somebody on. I'm like, well, kind of here's what I do. Here's how it works. And I was talking with their manager or publishing PR, whatever it was. And then like, well, I've never seen anybody do that before. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing though. So, okay, you came to me. It's like when you go to the restaurant and, like you said, you worked at one, you're in an Italian restaurant and they're like, hey, can I get some sushi? Do you know how this works? Right? You came to me.
Do you know you need to look on the menu, dude, and see what's there and what's not there? And the sushi, you got to cook it first because we don't do sushi here.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll run out real quick and grab you something. I'll bring you back.
Exactly. And because you do get that. You get the armchair quarterbacks who think that they know. No, nobody ever does it that way, but you do it that way. But by the way, that makes it unique.
Mm. Yep. Yeah. No. If you want me to be like every other podcast that's ever existed, sorry. I don't know what they're doing. I'm doing it in the way that makes the most sense to me, and that I've actually seen other people do this. So I think you might be wrong. I think you're just trying to kind of strong arm me into some stuff. But no thanks. You can't have a presentation on here. We're not selling anything as far as we're trying to talk to who you are. Well, it's only a 5-minute presentation. I don't care. I'm sorry. This isn't sushi. We're having spaghetti, right?
Exactly. And the interesting thing is what they're not getting is it isn't about the promotional stuff. It's about getting to know them as a human being.
Yep.
People like to deal with people they like and can build a relationship with. And that's what you're giving them, which is, by the way, invaluable information for them.
Yeah. I tell everybody, it doesn't matter what you do. There is a million, no matter how niche down you are, there is a million other people out there doing the exact same thing or something so close that it doesn't matter. So if there's a menu of options, what's going to set you apart from everybody else is going to be you. If I talk to somebody and they go, I need somebody in marketing, great. Here's 3 people I interviewed might be a good fit for you. Let me know who you want to meet. They all do the same thing. At least close enough. The person's deciding on the person. You know what? I really like what Kevin said. I think I like his humor. We'd get along. I could definitely see myself working with him. I didn't fall asleep. Great. Introduce me to Kevin.
Exactly. And Anthony, the same thing, because you're a very engaging young man, and you have a great sense of humor, and you're also knowledgeable about the subject matter that you're talking about, and can lead a good interview. And that's what it takes to do what you're doing. And congratulations for that. And by the way, you're only going to get, and you're good now, but you're only going to get so much better over time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I basically ask questions and shut up, right? The people are the ones I'm highlighting. It's because I've had good guests. I'll be humble enough to say that.
Well, and everybody can be a good guest but you see, the skill that you have is that you can listen well. And when you listen well, then you can ask intelligent questions. And then you can let them go off into the sunset and spew what they're going to spew.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said. I always tell people it should be required reading in high school, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
Just don't be interesting, be interested. There's other people out there. You can hear how cool my neighbor is driving off in his motorcycle. Sorry about that. He's super cool.
That's right. Has he got a Harley?
No, he's got loud motorcycle. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so no, so yeah, just be interested in other people. That's the main thing. They're going to tell you things that are going to blow your hair back, and they're going to thank you for it, and they're going to reciprocate. If you just listen and actively ask questions and let them go, and don't just wait for your time to talk, they're going to hear. That's going to stand out to them. They're going to remember you.
Exactly. And that is, but you'd be amazed when I listen to podcasts, it is an art form. And I wanted to ask you, and it was a long way to get around to this, but the art form that is a podcast that you've created, did you study it beforehand to kind of figure it out? I cut my teeth on live radio back before you were in 2003. How old were you in 2003?
13.
Okay. When you were 13, I was doing 2 hours a day, 5 days a week live radio in Seattle. And that's where I cut my teeth on it. Where did you get your chops? Did you take drama in high school? Did you work at the radio station? What did you do?
So funny story. No, I didn't do either of those things. I had one thing years and years ago where a teacher asked us to write a speech, right? It was going to be extra credit for a class. I did it the morning of. Right. And I turned it in, and it got into some sort of award thing or whatever. And I had to go to a radio station to record it. So I went there, I recorded the thing, and we submitted it for, the contest. And I remember my guidance counselor took me there. She's like, you should get into radio. I'm like, that's a good idea. And then I didn't touch it again until 6 months ago. Right. And it was one of those things that came back up. I was like, I did that at 15, and here we are 20 years later, and I'm doing something that I probably should have did sooner. But no, I didn't do any of that. I'm an avid reader. I like reading. I like listening to audiobooks. I traveled so much for work. I was constantly listening to audiobooks. I was constantly listening to other podcasts. And you start to pick up on, I know what I like to hear. I know the kind of questions that people ask that get the kind of answers that I like. And then just being in sales, it's a lot of that. You're talking to people, right? Stories sell, encouraging people to tell a story, kind of go back, explain how this happened, not just why it happens. So it's not like, oh, this thing does this. It's like, well, this actually funny story. It goes back to when I was that, whatever. People like that. So kind of all of that come together, and it's like, all I have to do is talk to people about themselves and try and keep it interesting. And it just kind of happened.
And well, it did just kind of happen, young man. You had lots of training, because I'm telling you, being a sales guy and talking to people and cold calling and talking to people you haven't met before and reading their energy and reading who they are, and are they interested? Are they about to hit you with and tell you to get lost? You got to read people, and that's great training to become a real good podcaster.
Yeah, I guess I was never shot at, door knocking. So you know what? Maybe you're right, and I've been able to translate that over there. Nobody shot at me while doing this.
Well, and also you've got an engaging smile, and you've got a great voice, and so and I can just see you coming up to talk to me at my door, and I may not be interested in the insurance, but at least I would want to have a conversation with you because you're engaging.
Yeah, and you're right. That's definitely the training. A little bit of tips for if you're ever out door knocking. Just find yourself randomly wanting to sell insurance. You knock on the door. You take like 4 or 5 steps away from the door, and you look around their yard, and you find something that you can just ask a question about. And then you get them talking. They come outside. You start schmoozing. You know what? Sorry, I forgot to mention. My name's Anthony. I'm actually with, and then go into it. So there's definitely carryover. I hadn't really thought about it too much, but I think you're right.
And I was a sales manager for a long time, and I used to tell my sales guys, if you're not into it today, if you don't want to go cold calling, and you feel like you're tired of getting rejected and you can't do this, because by the way, in sales, I don't know if you know this because you seem to be a consummate sales guy, there's a lot of the rejection involved. It's like me in my love life. There was just a lot of rejection involved.
Yeah, no, a lot of good books on it, but yeah, no, you're definitely going to get told no. So you got to get some thicker skin, and that carries over to entrepreneurship and podcasting. Going through the steady, maybe little growth to the hockey stick. That's the no's all along the way for the yes.
Yep, and that's what I used to tell them, is that if you're tired of getting told no, go home. And don't come back until you're ready to go talk to somebody and to actually listen to them. And see, I sold food, so we'd walk into a restaurant, and the chefs there are busy, or the assistant manager or the manager, whoever we're talking to, and they don't have time for mindless people who don't know what they're talking about. So you have to make your impact, and you have to make it quickly, and then you have to listen for what they're trying to say to you. And I can't tell you how many sales guys that have worked for me that were like, instead, you could see it in their mind. Instead of thinking, what is this guy telling me so that I can understand what his needs are, so that maybe I can meet his needs, they're thinking about, okay, how do I handle this objection? Okay, he's about ready to be done talking. How do I handle this objection? And then they'll go into something that is totally different than what he just said, because they aren't listening. So that's a real good training for podcasts, because you have to be able to listen to do a podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actively listen, because a lot of times there's some guests you kind of got to pull some stuff out of a little bit, where you get those 2-word answers. Oh yeah.
When we come back from this real quick break, it's just 30 seconds. Just relax, everybody. I want to ask you about the most, because I have a couple of stories of the most unengaging guest I've had, and I wonder if you've had any of those. We'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. I play that public service announcement, Anthony, because I've never texted anybody and asked them out on a date, and they said, "Oh, I'd love to. Let's go tonight." Has that ever happened to you?
All the time. No.
Oh, good. Wow, I'm glad that happened to somebody, because it just has never happened to me. But I want to ask you, you've been doing this for 6 months. You've got over 100 episodes, which, by the way, is very unique. I'll bet you if you were to Google 6 months, 100 episodes, you'd be one of the few that actually came up. But have you ever had what I would call a less than stellar interview with somebody that it was like pulling teeth because they just were not either engaged or they just didn't know how to be engaged?
Yeah, I've talked to all kinds, and there's definitely a bell curve. You have your folks that are just, like you said, it's like pulling teeth trying to get an answer longer than 5 seconds or 10 seconds out of. Then you have a lot of people in the middle, and then some really good ones on the end. But a good example would be people that I've never been on a podcast before. What are we gonna do? We're gonna talk. We're doing it now. You're doing a great job. Just do this then. So trying to get that, and then you have some people where they're just quick. They're quick. And you also have the others where it's like, yeah, you've been talking for a long time. But you have the quick ones. You're like, can you elaborate a little bit? So the thing that I've always found that really helped me was if I got one of those quick answers, just encouraging them to tell a story. No, that's interesting. You ever have any stories or anywhere that's actually happened? And then it tends to extend it, but a lot of it's just younger people maybe that they're nervous, and it's, the interview is typically 15 to 30 minutes, and we got it done in 10, right? So it definitely happens.
Well, the interesting thing is that those are not the ones that I have a problem with. The ones I have a problem with that are used to their shtick and they know their stuff. And so it's like, you ask them, "How are you today?" "I'm fine." 15 minutes later, they have a break and to take another deep breath, and you can get another question, or you can get something in edgewise, or they talk over you and just continue. That makes it really, this is a conversation show. You're supposed to have a engaging conversation, and I can't when you won't shut up. So that happens occasionally.
Yeah, that or they don't answer the question you asked. That's always a fun one too. Where it's like, what can you tell me about, how'd you get started doing this? Well, the key benefits to what I do, and you're like, whoa, okay, great. Let me ask it again slower.
That is so true. It's like people with PTSD that want to be on there, and it's like, look at that over there, and they just lose their train of thought about whatever it is that you're talking about. And some people are so intent, because apparently they've been on podcasts that don't necessarily let them talk about their stuff. They're so intent to get it out that they're not interested in talking to you. They're just interested in getting their stuff out.
Yeah. Yep. No, they pitch slap you right in the face, and you're like, great, I can edit all of that out. Do you want to try again? I'm sorry. That's not going to help you at all. I've been doing this long enough that you lost everybody.
I have the power of the edit. I can make you say, here's one of the things that's uncomfortable about today is that somebody can make you and they can take this podcast, and then they can make you or I say anything that they want us to by cutting it up and stuff. So you can always change and delete some things for people.
Yeah, no, and sometimes that's for their favor. I was editing a video actually earlier today, and during the recording, did not hear it. Going through the edit, he said, probably in the short I was cutting out 15 times in a minute, and I'm like, we probably shouldn't have that many of them. So the power of the edit, it's real.
It really is, and I like to present this as a live show, so I don't do a lot of edits, but there are times when you have no choice because it's almost unlistenable.
Mm-hmm.
Or if somebody says, "Oh, I just said," "Oh my," and when that happens and somebody has a repeated phrase. The one that I like, and I tell this story because when you're doing live radio like I used to do, there's a 7-second delay. There isn't a 7-second delay when we do our shows. And how the 7-second delay works is if you say a bad word, they hit a button and it cuts out that second that word appeared so that it doesn't appear in the recording. I interviewed a rock and roll musician, and he was live on stage, and I was at the venue, and he was in love. And I mean, Anthony, he was in love, love, love. Did I say love? With the F word. He said F this, F that. And the board operator back at the studio was hitting the button until he ran out of 7-second delay, and then he cut off the broadcast because they can't have that going out over the air. So I'm real cognizant of that, but people do, and people in their normal language say words that as George Carlin once said, if you know who that is, 7 words you can't say on TV, and they'll just go into that and stuff. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, not to that extent. Like they'll let a couple fly, but that's one of the things where it's like, that's fine. If that's who you are, we're trying to get who you are across to people. Because the last thing I want to do is edit all of it out. And then they have a one-on-one with somebody and then they just get hit with it. And they're like, you were not who I thought you were. But no, I haven't had any rock stars on doing that at all. So.
Well, and sadly he wasn't even a rock star. He was in a local band, and it was at the High Dive in Ballard, which is where Kurt Cobain was and all those guys. But in any event, Anthony, to give us your information, I want you to tell our audience how to reach you.
Yeah, the best way to reach me is just my website. You can go to ikag.me, or you can email me at admin@ikag.me. Find me on LinkedIn if you'd like. But yeah, the best way, just the website, ikag.me.
Now, how long generally are your podcasts? How long do you go?
I shoot for 15 to 30 minutes, just enough to get to know the person. Typically, in that amount of time, you can determine whether or not you want to meet them again, have another conversation, because I'm not trying to answer all the questions. Right? You're going to have questions that I can't even think about, so I'm not going to try. I'm just going to try and tell you, here's who this person is. If you want to meet them, if you think they're a good connection with you, absolutely grow your network, reach out, and build that people that are going to, like and trust.
I like that. It really is a needed thing, because a lot of people are looking for, as an example, one of the episodes recently that you did with Rudy Gargioni. Is that?
Yeah, he was actually my very first episode. I need to update it because he's at the very top. But since meeting him a little over 11 months ago, he's made over 300 introductions. So as I was growing this, as a thank you, I put him right up there at top and said, you're the first person they see, even if it was the first episode, and it's definitely better quality than that now. But yeah.
Well, but he was the money mechanic. I love that you got thriving entrepreneurs and growing your business. And the secrets of powerful messaging, and I couldn't pronounce that name to save my life. Nathan Ver.
It was Natan, yeah. No, and I can't pronounce it either. Don't worry about it. I get names wrong for a living. That's what I do.
Well, that is just awesome, and I want to thank you for being here. I've had a great time with you. I hope you've had a good time on the show.
I've had a great time. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, you betcha. Go to Hey. No, it's not Hey. I know a guy, and it's a podcast, and he's on YouTube, and go to his website, which again is
ikag.me.
And thank you for being here. Is there anything else you'd like to add, just real quick? We've got about 30 seconds.
No, just if you took anything from this, listen to more Kevin. He's doing awesome stuff.
Gee, that was nice of you. Can I use that later?
Please do.
Thank you. Anthony Markey has been our guest, and I want to thank you. I've had a fun, and if you're a podcaster and a podcast wannabe, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. There are enough of us out here trying to make it work. So anyway, have a great day, Anthony.
You as well.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin